Wherever Rosie O'Donnell's gone, she's probably eating a leprechaun. She's our hero of the day for leaving America if Trump won and relocating to Ireland, where she's still not funny. So many celebs say they're going to do it but never do. But does she have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Not a day has gone by that I thought it was the wrong decision. I was welcomed with open arms. I knew after reading Project 2025 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my...
Get ready for a public smackdown, because when it comes to overcooked opinions and undercooked comebacks, Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly just didn't hold back. They dragged Rosie O'Donnell to the intellectual woodshed, and let's be clear, they forgot to bring the filter. This wasn't a civil debate, it was a masterclass in witty, sarcastic verbal combat served up on a silver platter of snark, with Rosie playing the main course. Gutfeld came swinging with his signature punchlines. Megyn brought undeniable receipts. And Rosie, well, she mostly just brought confusion. If you're a connoisseur of glorious chaos, delightful pettiness, and enjoy watching someone get verbally vaporized before your very eyes, then congratulations, you've stumbled upon your new favorite train wreck.
Greg Gutfeld, join me now for Where Are They Now? Political Style. By the way, they never give you the real reason why they're leaving. Like Ellen DeGeneres says she was going to London because of Trump. No, it's because she was a monster and everybody hates her. That's the same thing with Rosie. You know why she's leaving, right? We know why she's leaving. Come on, we know. It's literally an ego trip.
Before we dive into the epic takedown, let's talk about the woman at the center of it all, Rosie O'Donnell. Her name once echoed through daytime talk shows like a confused foghorn, blasting loud and demanding attention, but somehow always jarringly off-key. If you were to map out her career trajectory, it would look less like a steady ascent and more like a roller coaster designed by a committee of clowns, packed with sudden, stomach-lurching drops, unpredictable twists, and that one moment where you realize someone forgot to fasten their seatbelt. That pretty much sums up Rosie for you. If self-importance and controversial declarations were Olympic sports, she'd be rocking more gold medals than Michael Phelps. But hold on, we're just getting started.
Because I haven't tortured you enough with clips from Nicole Wallace and Rachel Maddow, I decided I saw it, and so you had to as well. The following clip from Sex and the City, their latest sequel. I don't know.
Oh, I know
lost
what
track.
this is. Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Jashinsky, but it's happening. It's happening.
Oh, no.
For the listening audience, we are about to see Miranda, the character played by Cynthia Nixon, who is so annoying, in bed with a virgin nun played by Rosie O'Donnell. I just threw up a little in my mouth. Go ahead, roll it.
Are amazing.
Oh.
I have never experienced anything like that.
Ew. Oh my God. I'm so grossed out, Emily. You have to talk. I can't.
Remember when Rosie was, for a brief but unforgettable period, the undisputed queen of daytime television? She reigned supreme with a unique style that was somehow a curious blend of domestic charm, like a slightly unhinged Martha Stewart mixed with an aggressive, almost threatening, I will yell at you until you cry vibe. All of it was sprinkled with a healthy dash of bewildered uncertainty, leaving viewers constantly asking themselves, did she really just say that on live television? It was a peculiar era when audiences weren't quite sure if they were tuning into a heartwarming talk show or a full-contact verbal wrestling match. She wasn't merely hosting a program, she was actively throwing verbal punches like a caffeinated prizefighter who had unfortunately read one too many poorly digested self-help books and decided shouting was the key to enlightenment.
Apparently America couldn't be happier, but like I said, she's our hero of the day for doing what so many other celebs don't have the guts to do. Wow, first Ellen, now Rosie. Makes you wonder what lesbian will leave next.
Else betrays them. Not disclosing when you're in bed with somebody that you have herpes. It's important to disclose before you have interludes that you have the herpes virus. I'm sorry, Exhibit A. Here is Rosie O'Donnell bitching and moaning about her favorite person, Donald Trump. I think this is before she moved. I can't keep track of where she's living in the world to avoid him. Watch.
And then, as is often the case with sagas nobody really asked for, Rosie decided to take her talents elsewhere. And by talents, of course, we mean her singular and rather unique ability to transform any given platform into a personal stage for endless, often manufactured outrage. It didn't matter if the topic was high-stakes politics, low-brow pop culture, or frankly, just about anything else under the sun. Rosie O'Donnell was guaranteed to have an opinion, and she certainly wasn't shy about unleashing it upon the unsuspecting public with all the delicate subtlety of a bull rampaging through a very expensive, very fragile china shop. Her consistent need to be the loudest voice in the room often overshadowed any actual message she might have been trying to convey.
She came out later and told the world she has Donald Trump inflicted herpes from stress. And I wonder, Eliana, whether really there was a legal obligation there for her to disclose that to the character of Miranda.
I have to say she seems to be in a lot worse condition than Rachel Maddow and Nicole Wallace in terms of fighting fascism or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even have a response to that.
No, you
I don't
can't.
think
It's
anybody
stomach
wants to
turning.
see that.
It's too upsetting.
Anybody wanted
Donald
to see
Trump
that.
would never inflict herpes on Rosie O'Donnell. I think he's made that very clear.
This is precisely where the formidable duo of Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly come into play. These are two sharp-tongued television personalities who, armed with their own distinct brands of charm and a veritable genius for sarcastic repartee, have practically perfected the intricate art of dismantling oversized egos, one perfectly aimed sarcastic barb at a time. Watching them unleash their collective intellectual firepower on Rosie is akin to observing a meticulously engineered, finely tuned machine systematically and efficiently taking apart a rusted, oversized, and clearly dysfunctional appliance. The entire process isn't just inevitable, it's deeply satisfying, and for many, surprisingly cathartic to witness.
She seems miserable, and it doesn't really matter where she goes. She's trying to get away from whatever is inside her, because I looked at her and I go like, wow, she has changed.
I mean, she's changed, but she's also the same. But I love that she deported herself because she's so upset about the illegals being deported. So she deported herself, which is good for her. But I don't know if she really did her homework because Ireland has a ton of illegals. Ireland and the United States are both actually right up there. England's not doing much better. So Ellen DeGeneres and Rosie O'Donnell, I guess, are where they should be. But I love that they actually did go forward because...
Now, let's talk about Rosie's political commentary. Oh, what a rich yet often bewildering vein that is. She frequently attempts to channel the passionate spirit of genuine political activism, but in reality, she consistently ends up resembling a confused tourist, hopelessly lost in a bustling, complex city she barely understands. It's truly like watching someone try to play a high-stakes game of chess, while only possessing the basic knowledge of how the pawns move, and then, inexplicably, yelling loudly at all the other experienced players for being too aggressive or strategically advanced. The sheer level of misplaced certainty and unearned self-assurance she exhibits is genuinely staggering, as if every single tweet, every single loud, rambling rant were a profound, Nobel-worthy thesis, rather than just irritating noise pollution. And whatever you do, don't even get me started on her often cringeworthy attempts at becoming a social media influencer for wokeness. If merely being loud, perpetually angry, and consistently self-righteous were the true metrics for moral superiority, Rosie would undoubtedly be crowned the supreme overlord of the universe. But here's the crucial spoiler alert. It's not. Her virtue signaling, more often than not, comes across less like inspiring activism, and more like that one insufferable person at the party who completely ruins the vibe by aggressively lecturing everyone else about their carbon footprints, all while simultaneously ordering a double cheeseburger with extra bacon. The glaring hypocrisy is not just apparent, it is deliciously, unequivocally palpable. This leads us seamlessly to her infamous Twitter tantrums. These digital firestorms see her battling perceived foes as if they were her mortal enemies, yet she almost always comes off as the Twitter version of a toddler who just had their ice cream cone tragically slip from their grasp. Her entire social media presence is less about engaging in thoughtful discourse and more like an angry cat lady screaming furiously into the digital void, and the void itself, it mostly just sighs dramatically and then quietly moves on.
Oh my God. I'm so grossed out, Emily. You have to talk. I can't.
You're grossed out, but you're not sorry. You're just forced up.
Why should I be the only one who suffers? You all have to suffer. We're in it together.
I guess I saw it trending and I was like, oh, I can't click on this. I can't. And you know what? Actually, though, I think by watching it, it's just such an example of how bad the writing on some of these shows. It's like they put it into like progressive chat GPT.
Then there's her rather exhausting habit of dragging absolutely everyone into her personal drama, whether it's former friends, fellow celebrities, or even just the bewildered general public. Rosie possesses an uncanny knack for transforming even the most minor, insignificant disputes into sprawling, epic sagas of profound betrayal and ultimate victimhood. It's a plotline so incredibly repetitive and utterly exhausting that it could realistically fuel a daytime soap opera for decades, and yet she never seems to register just how little genuine sympathy she actually manages to garner. This is because when you consistently cast yourself as the perpetual victim in every single scenario, eventually and quite predictably, people begin to rightfully suspect that you might actually be the primary villain. Greg and Megyn's roast of Rosie isn't just a comedic takedown, it's more accurately a public service announcement, a powerful demonstration of precisely what happens when you take yourself way too seriously, decide to throw all logic out the window, and allow your ego to run wild and unchecked like a hyperactive kid unleashed in a candy store. They meticulously break down Rosie's endless antics with a masterful combination of cutting wit, razor-sharp sarcasm, and an almost surgical precision that leaves absolutely no room for any rational rebuttal. Because let's face it, Rosie's typical response would likely just be another episode of incoherent rambling or a predictably self-serving rant about how the entire media industrial complex is inexplicably out to get her. Their carefully crafted jabs aren't merely personal, they cut right through the flimsy pretense. Rosie consistently tries to masquerade as some profound cultural prophet or insightful political commentator, but what Greg and Megyn reveal is that underneath the layers of loud shirts and even louder, more insistent opinions, there's simply a frustrated woman desperately clinging to any semblance of fading relevance. Watching Greg and Megyn dismantle her public persona is like watching a meticulously constructed sandcastle slowly, yet inevitably wash away under a relentless tide of unvarnished truth, and it is, quite frankly, oddly satisfying to witness.
On Rosie O'Donnell, I think he's made that very clear.
Since Eliana refuses to play, Emily, I've got another soundbite for you.
I didn't even know Sex and the City was back on the air. I saw it when
it's happening. You have to react live to the herpes. I'm sorry.
And I was like, oh, you know what? The culture stuff, that's Emily's ballywick anyway.
Here
like,
we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's another beauty. This is Rosie in another scene singing to Miranda. Enjoy.
Because I knew you. Because I knew you. I have been changed for good. That's from Wicked.
I figured.
But here's the often unspoken truth about what we're actually getting from her appearances and online presence these days. What began as a promising career has devolved into something far less substantial. Her contributions, when she bothers to make them, often feel like something hastily thrown together, lacking any real thought or substance.
Rosie O'Donnell ditching the U.S. for Ireland in the wake of Trump's victory, and the president is responding. Watch it.
You know, you have Rosie O'Donnell. Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is? Yeah. You're better off not knowing.
Wow, hardest hit, not even knowing who she is. That one's got hurt. But she did prove that self-deportation could work, right?
Yeah, they'll find out soon enough when she gets there and eats them out of house and home. You know, I have this idea, and I'm going to give it to Fox Nation because that's the kind of person I am. You know the VH specials, Where Are They Now?
It's the kind of content that makes you cringe, filled with what can only be described as the worst, most nonsensical dialogue imaginable. It's just truly awful. In essence, Rosie O'Donnell's career serves as a potent cautionary tale for anyone in the public eye. Raw talent alone, no matter how substantial, can only propel you so far if you stubbornly insist on alienating everyone around you with a toxic cocktail of self-righteousness, erratic behavior, and an unshakable belief in your own infallible wisdom. She has, quite remarkably, managed to transform what undeniably could have been a consistent and successful media career into a bewildering series of public meltdowns so outrageously over the top that even the most sensational traditional reality TV producers would probably reject them for being too unbelievable. And just to further sweeten this particularly bitter pot, Rosie's more recent attempts at political commentary sound less like genuinely informed opinions or thoughtful analysis, and more like the frantic ramblings of a conspiracy theory enthusiast who's consumed far too much caffeine. She flings accusations with the delicate subtlety of a toddler gleefully throwing spaghetti at a freshly painted wall, fervently hoping that anything will stick. Spoiler alert, most of it just slides right off, leaving behind a sticky, embarrassing mess that she's far too proud or perhaps simply too oblivious to clean up. While Rosie might delusionally fancy herself the champion of the common people, Greg and Megyn adeptly peel back the layers to reveal a very different picture. What emerges is the image of a woman trapped within her own carefully constructed echo chamber, screaming passionately into the abyss, and then genuinely wondering why absolutely nobody is clapping. Their incisive takedown isn't just about roasting Rosie for comedic effect, it's a masterclass in the nuanced, yet brutal art of how to effectively dismantle someone who has spent years meticulously building their entire brand identity on a foundation of pure outrage and unshakable entitlement.
To do Where Are They Now for political moments. The legendary debate, Trump, Megyn Kelly, Rosie O. Where are they? Where did one catapulted to the presidency, one went to NBC and then to podcast stardom, and the other one went to the land of the.
Rosie is so outspoken. Imagine the horror in being a Democrat, maybe a normal Democrat, like an old, blue dog Democrat, Eliana, and having one of the people most associated with your brand out there pointing to some huge growth right underneath her nose, saying it might be a pimple or it's a herpes, and then delivering an update, it's a herpes. I have herpes. Look at my herpes virus. It was caused by Donald Trump, and then asking us to picture her in bed with a vibrator and Cynthia Nixon. And then they're like, why can't we get young men on Team Blue? What is it?
If Rosie O'Donnell's legacy can be distilled into one singular lesson, it's undeniably a masterclass in precisely how not to navigate the treacherous waters of fame and public life. From her early, bombastic, over-the-top daytime TV days to her increasingly frequent and spectacular social media meltdowns, and her consistently misguided political misfires, she stands as a walking, flashing caution sign, emphatically proclaiming, don't take yourself too seriously, or this is exactly where you'll inevitably end up. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly, with their famously razor-sharp wit and absolute zero patience for any kind of nonsense, represent the perfect, much-needed antidote to her loud, often chaotic, and perpetually attention-seeking presence. So the next time Rosie inevitably tries to hijack your Twitter feed or forcibly dominate a news cycle with her latest self-generated meltdown, just remember this: somewhere in a studio, Greg and Megyn are probably already meticulously crafting their next epic takedown. And honestly, for true connoisseurs of public spectacles, that's precisely the best part of this entire ongoing show. It's the captivating drama of watching the unstoppable force of reason, logic, and biting humor powerfully collide with the immovable object of Rosie's gargantuan ego. And here's another spoiler alert, because we all love them. The Force, almost without fail, tends to win. And that, dear viewers, is precisely why Rosie O'Donnell will forever remain the gift that keeps on giving. Not just for comedy, not just for perfectly crafted sarcasm, but for consistently reminding us all what truly happens when you mistakenly confuse shouting louder with actually possessing something genuinely worthwhile to say. Greg and Megyn have just delivered the kind of roast that leaves absolutely no room for doubt. Rosie, you are indeed a legend, but mostly the kind of legend people can't help but laugh at, not genuinely with.